that wanted a pint nor a glass or a lass when the music was over. They prayed up through Marcus and Fears, the little lass to the north they'd come. And there they met Black Janet, the widow, who sang as she rattled the drum. And Lindsay's called Black Janet to dance in air so bonny a pair. She is ta'en and firm by the hand and was skipped to the top of the stair. And here she sat is a fine feather bed where a man be he weary or drear. You step with me a gay strathspey with me lilt and the tune in his ear. And Janet was as good as her word, and Lindsay is proven his worth. And may you all hasten merry a dance whenever you come to the north. You may have noticed I used quite a lot of open tunings when I'm playing, and John gave me some very sound advice when we were going to California. He said, all these guitar heads will come up and say, what kind of tunings are you using? Just tell them you put all the knobs in a row. Oh, really? One of the advantages of being in my generation is that when you pinch a song from a talented young songwriter, they're flattered. And such a songwriter is a lass called Lorraine Jordan. She's a kind of Celtic walking identity crisis. Her father's Welsh, her mother's Irish, and she lives in Scotland. She says she knows who the common enemy is, the government. And she started to write a song about an episode in Scottish history called the Highland Clearances, where farmers and crofters would put off their land to be replaced by sheep and red deer. And that started a wave of immigration to Canada, especially. And she realised that when she was writing it, that it was a very early form of ethnic cleansing in a way. So this has got a very high IQ chorus. It takes me all my time to remember it. You're welcome to join in if you catch it. It takes the shape of a one-way conversation. Talk with me a while, tell you how the sickness came. He marched into our town, imposed the language of the crown, and those that would defy were forced to die. They stacked our fiddles high, they burned away our very lives. No sound of skirling pipes, no song or dance amidst the strife, and those that would defy were forced to die. So blow the winds of freedom over me, I'm crying on my knees and I just can't find the will to fight this never-ending war. Blow the winds of freedom over me, I'm dying, all my dreams are broken, I can't find the will to fight anymore. And talk with me a while, and I'll tell you how the sickness spread. They mocked our native dress, and they made us cover up our legs, and those that would defy were forced to die. The spirit of this land was crushed beneath an iron hand, and they turned day into night, and we were left without a single right, and those that would defy were forced to die. So blow the winds of freedom over me, I'm crying on my knees and I just can't find the will to fight this never-ending war. No, the winds of freedom over me, I'm dying, all my dreams are broken. I can't find the will to fight anymore. Talk with me a while, and I'll tell you how the sickness stayed. They said that we were wild because we followed nature's ways, and those that would defy were forced to die. They cut away our tides, our forest fields and riversides, and they ruled us with a rope, a broken spirit without hope of ever being free to laugh again. So blow the winds of freedom over me, I'm crying on my knees, and I just can't find the will to fight this never-ending war. Blow the winds of freedom over me, I'm dying, all my dreams are broken. I can't find the will to fight anymore. So blow the winds of freedom over me, I'm crying on my knees, and I just can't find the will to fight this never-ending war. Blow the winds of freedom over me, I'm dying, all my dreams are broken. I can't find the will to fight anymore. This song seems to kind of naturally follow on. Written by an immigrant to Nova Scotia way back. Donald McLaren is his name. It's been translated from the Gaelic. My mum helped me do that. There's only one Gaelic word left. It's the thrawn, which is the corn crake. It's a bird that my family bases its singing style on. Of course, the Scots always go to the extremes. They started off, they landed in the eastern Atlantic seaboard and they headed straight for Vancouver. And then on the way back, Donald wrote this song, and it was so popular that he didn't bother coming home. Come listen with me to the ceaseless thundering roar, as the seas without change or pity crash to the shore. Over the sand, the end of surge and the flow, was once in my island childhood long, long ago. For the woods of the west, and they hold no longing to stay. My heart's in the little hollow down by the bay. The folk who were good and kind and happy days, with loving in thought and deed, in labor and play. Like the crown of the field, those times and people have gone. The winds of the western ocean carry them on. A flight of defenseless birds on the scattering breeze that blows o'er the endless flow and surge of the sea. For my age and my looks now speak of my shortness of days. I would move from your side and seek the wandering ways. And the cold sleep of death has wrapped its sheet around me. Make my bed by that endless sound, the surge of the sea. Probably one of our first real singer-songwriters in Scotland was a lad called Stuart McGregor. He died young, tragically. But not before he'd written some beautiful poetry and some very bonny songs. There's a lot of myth about him too. We like to exaggerate our characters in Scotland. Well, after all, Blair comes from Scotland, doesn't he? Drown. You've been governed by Scotch, you know. And well, anyway, he was a medical student in Edinburgh in the 50s and the early 60s when they were building the hydroelectric dams in Scotland. And he took time out to work as a paramedic on the dams, make some money. And by all reports, he was more para than medic most of the time because he liked to dram. He had a few adventures. This was one of them. It's about a little town, little hamlet just outside of Aberfeldy, which is a good place to be outside of Aberfeldy. It's called Cushyville. Now the west winds blow to Cushyville, and with the winds came we. Where the river hogs the wood, and blackthorns bloom, and may there stood a single rowan tree. So young and tender, so were you. I loved you both, as there you grew. The day I took the road that leads, I ran out to the sea. And we carved our names in Cushyville. The rowan leaves were still, but the darkening west was in your eyes, despite your kisses and my lies, my thoughts across the hill. I broke your heart as the minutes passed, for I shrugged and said that nothing lasts, but many's the backward glance I cast as I went north to the drill. And the big wheels rumble up and down, the lorries know the way. I waved my hand, I hitched a ride, we crossed the bridge at Rannochside where the diesel motors play. Then I set myself to a cliff of stone, and my ear to the boring hammers drone. The ache inside I rooted home, as you were far away. But the money moved from Ericslach, the great land beckoned on, and at Morrison the hills grew pale, and we fought and drank the walking tail till our money soon was gone. Then at Costlechos I ate autumn rain, in the winter whiskey in Dunblane, till the west winds rose and the spring came, and my heart leapt at its song. And I came at night to Cushyville, with a dozen hills aflame, but you had another hand to hold. Beneath the names we carved of old, there was another name. You looked me through and you made no sign. I drank the cup of bitter wine, but well we knew the fault was mine, and I went the road I came. The story goes that when they came to Lochernhead, that the chief medical officer in an attempt to keep Stuart sober, billeted him with the most severe spinster of the parish you could find. Unbeknownst to him, she had a penchant for Glenfiddich and a secret life. He was just a lad at the time, but he obviously sat down with a bottle one night and she opened up to him about her whole life story. Nobody knows who she is, but he wrote a very beautiful poem for her. It was out in the warm spring grass, she said, when the night was soft in the hill. He touched my ear with his voice, she said, and my blood ran sweet and chill. I laugh in my sleep at their jive, she said, but they call me old mead still. I have seen them sprinkled, weaned and loved, the young girls fondled and wed. I've watched their dreams grow as grey as the hair that the limping sheepdog said. Mine are as green as the tall pines that lean by Lochern. He never came back to my father's byre, yet on an April night, the moon sits fat on a scudding cloud, and the stars are quick and white. I have known his clutch like a cloak of fire, and his limbs like swords of light. And my eyes wet by the fire, she said, but not with lust or shame. I mourn no shepherd laid low in the hill, I weep in the starry flame, with the joy of what I can never lose, but what I dare not name. And it was out in the warm spring grass, she said. Way before the advent of the internet and email, some friends of mine in America used to send me newspaper cuttings from outrageous reports they'd come across. And I think it must have been mid-70s this one arrived. It took me about 20 years to write a song about it, but it was about the political correctness of boats being usually called women's names. And the majority of boats have got a woman's name. And it was written by a male gay journalist in New York who said the Queens were all right. He was quite happy with that. But he thought it was a bit unfair that in general most ships or boats had a woman's name. And this happened after an incident in Rhode Island where someone had gone down to a marina on the cover of dark. And all the boats that had a woman's name, they'd sprayed sexist along the hulls. Until they came to a catamaran called the Hermaphrodite. And then with great inventiveness wrote Greek sexist on the hull. But I've always liked the association. Here's the song. Love will come and love will go as the years roll on forever. And lost love has the everlasting flow of a never-ending river. And it's not an easy reckoning, but sometimes I have the notion that womankind in her heart and mind sails on a restless ocean. Tall ship came to windward away on a grey Atlantic morning, and she showed no lights or colours in the hour before the dawning. On a full-rigged run to the rising sun, she reached our starboard quarter, and I'll never forget the name she bore. She was called the Neptune's daughter. Sails were white as ivory, and her rigging sang like harp strings. Her spars were black as ebony, her wheels spun free of lashings. Her cloak of grey was the spindrift spray as she split the waves asunder. I could see her now as she crossed our bow, and we gazed in silent wonder. Our course was set by destiny, no helmsman's hand could change her. We hailed her and we signaled, "You are standing into danger." But she left us free on the westerly, and I watched her pale sail sinking, and if only I was upon her deck, was all that I was thinking. For love will come and love will go as the seas roll on forever, and lost love has the everlasting flow of a never-ending river. And it's not an easy reckoning, but sometimes I have the notion that womankind in her heart and mind is a tall ship on the ocean. Funny thing happened to me this spring. We had a nice little batch of weather at the end of March. And I was doing all the necessary things in the garden, and it was nice and cozy and warm, so I fell asleep. And I woke up and there was a blackbird sitting on my welly. I thought I turned into Francis of Assisi or something. But then I realized it was because it thought I was an inanimate object, a bit like that gnome that was up here earlier on. So I reckon the older you get, you sit still a lot more. Usually at the bar, but anyway. There are a few other things occurred to me about aging. Some are pros, some are cons, but I thought it was at least worth a blues. As I grow older, must be sitting stiller. Birds come closer and cats sleep on me. My fine feathered friends and a natural born killer think that I'm a statue made of stone. There's one thing I've learned as the seasons turn: you never feel as old as you're grown. As I grow older, it's back to fundamentals. I can't stand the stuff that Monsanto throws at me. I don't eat tofu, soya beans or lentils, and still prefer my bacon fried. If there's one thing I've learned as the seasons turned, I'm genetically demodified. As I grow older, I must be getting wiser. I don't argue with my woman when she disagrees with me. The first time it happened, it really surprised her. She swore I must be guilty of a sin. If there's one thing I've learned as the seasons turn, be a loser when you just can't win. As I grow older, I must be dehydrating. I can drink more beer than I did when I was 23. But late on in the evening, gravity gets so frustrating, it's hard to keep an even keel. If there's one thing I've learned as the seasons turn, you're always more drunk than you feel. As I grow older, I saving my libido for those special occasions when the mood comes over me. Who needs Viagra? What the hell do they know? A pretty woman told me one day, it's not the roll of the ship that makes the trip, but the motion of the ocean, they say. And if there's one thing I've learned as the seasons turn, you live to love another day. I don't sing many English songs, especially traditional ones, because you've got a lot of people down here that do them much better than I would. But I used to have a sort of misconception about English folk songs. I used to think when I was younger that, well, first of all, a squire or a lord or a knight would ride out on a bright May morning usually, and meet either a shepherdess or a milkmaid, and then you'd have an English folk song. Well, a couple of years back I was riding my horse over the Lammer moors and we met a shepherdess, but she was on a Yamaha quad bike and couldn't catch her, so there's no folk song. How times have changed. But that was just behind a place called Earlston on the A698, where Thomas the Rhymer came from. Not much to it, 3 pubs and a radar trap. But nestling down behind it is the very beautiful old mansion and farm of Cowdenowes. It's a song that mentions broom. Broom comes in quite a lot of songs. Somebody asked me about yellow broom earlier tonight. There's a lot of superstition about broom. You never take it into the house and use it as a cut flower, because when it dries out and you throw it on the fire, it produces a hallucinogenic smoke. I'm not sure whether that's advice or not, but so the first chorus of this used to be "Wow the broom, the bonny bonny broom," but the new one is "Oh the broom, the bonny bonny broom, the broom o' the Cowdenowes. Fain would I be in my own country, herding her feathers young. How blithe was I each morn to see a lass come o'er the hill. She'd skip the burn and run to me. She'd meet me with goodwill. Oh, the broom and the bonny bonny broom. Try that. The broom o' the Cowdenowes. Fain would I be, fain would I be in my own country, handing our feathers young. Neither wanted ewes nor lambs, as the flock near us lay. She herded in the sheep I left, and she cheered me all the day. Oh, the broom and the bonny bonny broom, the broom o' the Cowdenowes. Fain would I be, fain would I be in my own country, and in their feathers young. Hard fate that I should banish me, gang wearily and mourn, because I rode the fairest lass that ever yet was born. Listening. Nice accent. The broom o' the Cowdenowes. Fain would I be, fain would I be in my own country, herding our feathers young. Adieu, ye cow. her side again is all I crave or can. Oh, the broom, the bonny gone, the bloom of the crowd and house. Fain would I be in my own country, have been done feathers. Well done. That was the last song. These are the encores. See, I don't leave the stage and jump up and down at my age. There was one theatre I was in recently, I couldn't find my way back. I had to go around the front and in through the admission and down through the hall. And I thought, he's weird. There used to be a fantastic folk festival that was run right in the very far north in Caithness in Sutherland, called the Thurso Folk Festival. If you think of the Pentland Firth, the very top of Scotland, Thurso's about there. And it was run by the Doonway Nuclear Power Station Recreation Club. And it died out. Excuse me, something through this water. In fact, there's a lounge bar in Thurso called the Hot Spot. It's a bit tongue-in-cheek. And convoys used to leave from Glasgow and Edinburgh, whether we were booked or not. We used to just congregate there. And the Edinburgh side wasn't such a scenic route. I remember once driving an old Raleigh Saab up the west coast with my dear departed friend Hamish Shimla asleep in the back. And he woke up and said, "Where are we?" I said, "We're just passing the hotel at Fort Augustus." And he said, "Why?" Because basically it was a pub crawl. We started on Wednesday, the festival started on Saturday. And we'd meet in Inverness about Friday maybe. And then we'd convoy all the way up. It was the first time I'd seen a convoy with a buffet car in the middle of it. None of the drivers were drinking. But you know what it was like in the 60s and 70s? It was just ridiculous when you think back about it. So in an attempt to try and keep the cast of the festival sober during the festival, the organisers used to have all these extramural activities like pony trekking and deep sea fishing, which they thought was safe. So they sent us out with a guy called Danny Bewes, an Arcadian, who with a little boat. And there was the Ian Campbell folk group, the Fury Brothers, the McCalmans, myself and a few others, and off to Scrabster Head to do, for dabbing for mackerel and stuff like that. What they didn't know was that Danny Bewes was actually smuggling malt whiskey from Orkney. And he had all these bottles stashed away that were, when they're distilling whiskey, they allow a certain amount for evaporation. It's called the angel share. There was a hell of a lot of evaporation. It must have been a hot summer morning that year. Because he had about 30 bottles of it stored in this boat. And he called it Glenigma, because nobody knew where it came from. So when we came back into Scarborough Harbour, there was a minibus waiting for us to take us back to the festival. And Danny took 4 runs to get into the harbour. And eventually when he got in past the harbour wall and we were trying to tie up, an old guy sitting in a lobster keel shouted down to him, "Danny, you don't have to tack when you've got an engine," he said. I won't tell you what Danny said. We're just lying off Scrabster Head with 2 rusty old trawlers that had been accidentally decommissioned for the insurance. So 2nd and 4th line of this are yours. Now it's 3 long years since we made her pay. Sing all away, my laddie-o. And the owners say that she's had her day. And sing all away, my laddie-o. Think you could do that? So heave away for the final draw. Sing all away, my laddie-o. It's an easy pull for the catch is small. And sing all away, my laddie-o. Then stow your gear your lads and batten down. Sing haul away, my laddie-o, and we'll say farewell to the fishing grounds. And sing haul away, my laddie-o, we'll join the venture in the morning star. Sing haul away, my laddie-o, riding high and empty beyond the bar. And sing haul away, my laddie-o, but I'd rather beat you on the skelly rock. Sing haul away, my laddie-o, than to see her torched in the breaker's dock. And sing haul away, my laddie-o, and when I die you can stow me down. Sing haul away, my laddie-o, in her rusty hold where the breakers pound. And sing haul away, my laddie-o, then I'd make the haven of Fiddler's Green. Sing haul away, my laddie-o, where the rum is good and the bunks are clean. And sing haul away, my laddie-o, but I've fished a lifetime, boy and man. Sing haul away, my laddie-o, the final trawl scarcely makes a crown. And sing haul away, my laddie-o. Well done, thank you.
Time to get lost. Just one or two things. If I can just give my thanks to Simon Bolter for a wonderful support set tonight. And to Dave Knox for great sound. Upstairs tomorrow night in the acoustic room is an open stage, so come along and try those songs out that you've been wanting to sing for all that time. Next week is a band called Any Old Time, and yes, you guessed, it's my band. So if you like some blues and ragtime, harmonica, do come along. Okay, that's it. Big thank you. Pardon? Archie Fisher!
Been singing this song ever since I first heard it in the Shetland Folk Festival way back in mid-80s. A singer from Newry on the borders of Northern Southern Ireland called Kieran Goss wrote it. Wonderful man, very funny man. And this was in the days before I became a liberated guitarist and burnt my strap. I used to stand up to sing then. And Kieran came on and sang into my guitar mic because he's not quite as tall as I am. He's a powerhouse of a songwriter and singer. I heard an apocryphal story, I'm not quite sure whether it's true, but he was on tour in Australia recently and He was going through very strict security that they have over there as well now. And he was standing like that. And the man said, "You have a problem, Mr. Goss?" And he said, "I'm just trying to look like my passport photograph," he said. "I see you don't take security very seriously, Mr. Goss." And he said, "Have you got a criminal record?" He said, "I didn't know he still needed one to get into Australia." I interviewed him for a wee while. This is his parting song. This is your chorus. All that you ask me is that I remember what we've been through. And all that I'm saying is that I remember you. So if you remember the word remember, you'd remember half the chorus. Try that. All that you ask me is that I remember what we've been through. And all that I'm saying is that I remember you. Some people say that the miles make no difference. Miles are the distance between you and me. So watch out for love, it's not gold 'cause it glistens, and cheap reminiscence isn't worthy of you. All that you ask me is that I remember what we've been through. And all that I'm saying is that I remember you. It's not all or nothing, and it's not worth the giving. Love's not worth the living till it's put to the test. And no guarantee doesn't mean I'm not buying. It just means I'll keep trying even more than the rest. All that you ask me is that I remember what we've been through. And all that I'm saying is that I remember There's no sadness in leaving if you leave for a reason. And the best of all reasons is to come back again. And tears in the morning can bring joy in the evening. Just keep believing that love finds the way. All that you ask me is that I remember what we've been through. And all that I'm saying is that I remember you. You've got it now. So. All that you ask me is that I remember what we've been through. And all that I'm saying is that I remember you. I always remember you. Good night and safe home. One road